Welcome everyone. This is the Indian Express of 13th September and I will explain this newspaper in 3 steps. First is why is the news, second is what is the news, and third is what can be the future prospects of the news. So let's get started with the first news, which is court allows hearing of Hindu plea for right to pray in Gyanvapi Mosque. Why exactly this news has come? You know the Gyanvapi Mosque controversy. Hindu groups have been praying there for a long time, but now they are not allowed. So that is why they have appealed to court that they should get their right to pray in the mosque. And what exactly is the news? It is based on an act, which is 1991 Places of Worship Act. So I'll read that news underlining that Hindu groups are not barred by 1991 Places of Worship Act. What exactly court has said? Varanasi District Court Monday said that suits that are seeking the right to worship inside this mosque are maintainable, and therefore, according to plaintiffs, even after 15th August 1947, these people were worshipping Ma Shringar Gauri, Lord Ganesh, Lord Hanuman daily up to year 1993. And if this contention is proved, then the suit is not barred by Section 4 of the Places of Worship Special Provisions Act 1991. This order stated. So why exactly 1947 year is chosen? Because it was decided that places of worship cannot be changed after independence. Court was hearing civil suits that was filed by 4 Hindu women that were seeking to worship the deity Ma Shringar Gauri within this complex mosque. So in a 26-page order, district judge has dismissed the challenge to the civil suits that was exactly by Anjuman Intizamiya Masjid Committee. Now this advocate, whose name is Mirajuddin Siddiqui, he appeared for the mosque and he told Indian Express that order will be challenged before the Allahabad High Court. So this was in the District High Court. Now it will be challenged in Allahabad High Court. So now here is explained what exactly the Places of Worship Act means. The Places of Worship Act bars conversion of the religious character of any place of worship as it existed on 15th day of August 1947. So this exactly means you cannot change the religious character of any place of worship. That means you cannot make a temple a mosque, or mosque a temple, or a gurudwara a temple based on any past evidence or any something like that. So the mosque has argued that the 1991 law, it bars the civil suit that seeks a right to worship in the mosque premises. And what the Hindu side have argued, it has argued that until 1993 there were regular worships of Ma Shringar Gauri and it was allowed in the back side of Gyanvapi in Ishan Code. So you know Ishan Code is you can say a direction that is very much worshipped in Hindu religion. It's called the direction towards the God. It's called the face towards the God. Since 1993, they said district administration of Varanasi restricted the entry to only once a year. In paragraph 43 of the plaint, it is mentioned that devotees of Lord Shiv were performing daily puja and they were worshipping Ma Shringar Gauri and also other deities within the old temple. Until when? Till 1990, continuously, when during Ayodhya movement, government of Uttar Pradesh, to appease Muslims, put restrictions in daily puja. And since 1993, the state administrations that was working under the oral orders of the state government, now they are allowing the devotees to perform puja only on the 4th day of Vasantik Navrat in Chaitra. So what exactly that means? It means that they were worshipping, Hindus were worshipping continuously till 1990. But because of that Ayodhya movement, what government of Uttar Pradesh done? Government of Uttar Pradesh, in order to appease Muslims, they have put restrictions in daily puja. This was said by, this was an order that noted the dismissal of challenges to the maintainability. What exactly that means is that case will now have to be heard on merit in detail. The petitioners will have to lead evidence to establish the status of Gyan Vapi Mosque as it existed on 15th August 1947. So at this stage, the averments that were made in the plaint are to be seen, and plaintiffs will have to prove their averment by cogent evidence. So what exactly this means? So this means that at this stage, the averment made in the plaints, averments in Hindi it's called tark, made in the plaint, and plaint is you can call a legal complaint that is done by someone against someone. So this plaint is a legal complaint that is shown in court of law. So this averments, you can say this point that are made in the complaint are to be seen, and the plaintiffs, now who are the plaintiffs? Plaintiffs are the person who are the complainant, who do the complaint against someone. So these persons will have the right to prove their amendments. The averments means tark by cogent evidence, and this cogent evidence means you can call cogent in Hindi is called ठोस. So cogent evidence means you can say a logical evidence, or it's something like that. So at this stage, this you can say averments that were made in this complaint are to be seen, and the complainant will have the right to prove their averments by cogent evidence. So this is exactly the language of law. So that is why it's a little bit tricky. Citing the Supreme Court 2019 verdict in Ayodhya case, what exactly Varanasi Court said? Varanasi Court said that Hindu deity existence cannot be extinguished by destruction of idols. Destruction of idols does not result in the termination of pious purpose and consequently the endowment. That means if you destruct the idols standing there, it does not result in termination of that purpose. Even where the idol is destroyed, or if the presence of idol is terminated, or in fact it is made to be absent, then also the legal personality that is created by the endowment continues to subsist. That means that it exactly means simply that if you destruct the god in some temple, it does not mean that the temple have become extinct. It will remain a temple. So mosque has also argued that civil suits by the Hindu sides are barred, since the Board of Trustees under the Sri Kashi Vishwanath Act 1993, they have never claimed possession, or they have never taken any step for proper darshan, puja, or also performance of ritual within the mosque premises. Refusing to go into the question at this stage, what the court noted is that Hindu petitioners have moved the court, since the Board of Trustees has failed to perform its duties under the law. Now court also refused to accept the argument from Muslim side that Gyan Vapi Mosque is registered as Waqf number 100 in the Varanasi Gazette on the ground that Gazette notification is merely a revenue record and does not create title. So there was a Gazette, Varanasi Gazette, in which Gyan Vapi Mosque was registered as a Waqf number 100. So what exactly court has said? Court said that Gazette notification that comes from the government, you can call executives, it's merely a revenue record and it does not create title. It's not, you can say, it does not decide much more thing. In my view, this argument of defendant number 4, which is the mosque, it does not hold much water. And why exactly court had said this point? Because plaintiffs are claiming, plaintiffs, complainant, those who have made complaints against someone, then plaintiffs are claiming only right to worship at the disputed property. They want to worship Ma Shri Shingar Gauri and other visible and invisible deities within the contention that they worshipped there till year 1993. So they are saying that court is saying that the Hindu people only wants to worship the deities, and these are not claiming ownership over the disputed property. They also have not filed the suit for declaration that disputed property is a temple. So they are saying that they only want to worship, they do not claim on any ownership for the mosque or temple. In May 20, underlining the complexity of the issues, which involves also the civil suit, Supreme Court has transferred the case that was pending before a civil judge to a district judge. Media was not allowed to witness the proceeding. Civil judge has allowed a survey, and this came, I think, 6 months back. There was a survey that was done, and it was a secret survey. No media personnel were allowed there. So civil judge allowed a survey of Gyan Vapi Mosque complex, and it was called that there a shivling was found. It was not exactly shown, but it was said to be found. Now the Anjuman Intizamiya, they moved the Supreme Court and they challenged the survey. They challenged this survey that was performed in the Gyan Vapi Mosque. In July, 3-judge bench that comprised Justice D.Y. Suryakant and P.S. Narasimha, they have said it would wait for the district court decision before intervening. So obviously we see what will happen in the future. Both sides are not going to solve this dispute very soon. So matter can go into Supreme Court, and when it will go into Supreme Court, a lot of description will be there, and we are witnessing this in the hijab case also. There was a high court order, but these people were not satisfied and they went to Supreme Court. Now we are seeing a broad discussion there. So same will, I guess, will happen in this case also. Now also coming to first page, we see food prices, fuel, retail, inflation to 7%, IIP at 4-month low. So what exactly is the news? This is about inflation and why it is in news. Because we see that there is a lower criteria and a higher criteria, or you can call a benchmark, in order to maintain that inflation. And what is that target? It is 4% plus minus 2%. That means the lowest inflation that must reside in inflation is 2%, and the upper threshold must not be more than 6%. But it has been consecutive 8 months since the inflation is above 7% or 6%. So that is why this is in the news. Now what is the news? Bucking the downtrend of 3 months, retail inflation rose to 7% in August, marking the 8th consecutive month above the upper threshold of Reserve Bank of India's target of 4 plus minus 2%, and almost 3 years, that means 35 months of staying above 4%, according to data that was released by NSO. You know, inflation data is released by NSO. Now inflation rate picked up on the back of a rise in food prices, especially fruits, vegetables, spices, cereals, wheat, milk, and prepared meals, with a higher pace recorded for rural areas than urban areas. So you see, in rural areas there is more inflation in these food items such as fruits, vegetables, spices, cereals and all that than urban areas. There was also a separately released data set by a National Statistical Organization. It is the Index of Industrial Production, which is moderated to 4-month low of 2.4% in July as against growth of 11%. So 11% was last year, and this month of July it's just 2%. So that is why this is a matter of great concern, because growth is less and inflation is growing. We see manufacturing, mining, electricity all are going to a serious low. Industrial output contracted, means it has come to a low point from the previous month by 2.75%. Food inflation rose to 7.62% from 6.69% a month ago. Inflation 7.1%, higher than urban areas 6.72%. So in rural areas inflation is 7% and urban areas 6%. Now all of this is the given data, so it's about particular food prices, spices and all that. It's not that important. We see the main inflation is more important. Wheat inflation is in double digits. And why? Because of the heat wave. We have seen this heat wave coming in March, and that is why there was lower output of the wheat. So when there is low production and buyers are more, then obviously the inflation will rise, because that things become precious, and wheat is a thing that is used in almost every home. Every single home of this country uses wheat. So wheat inflation is double digit. Why? Because of the unexpected heat wave that has come in March, when wheat is at its peak to grow its kernel, which pulled down the wheat output this year. Now lower areas sown under paddy due to shortfall in monsoon rainfall. There was also a news that yesterday that government has banned the broken rice export. And why exactly they have banned? Because there is less production because of deficit in monsoon this year. Uttar Pradesh and Punjab, Haryana all are seeing a low rainfall, and also there is a virus that have done much damage to the crop in Punjab and Haryana. It's called dwarfing virus. So these are the reasons why exactly the output of rice is very low. So rainfall in Gangetic Plain and neighbouring state is expected to reduce the paddy output. This points to an inflation in cereals remaining at elevated level. This is by Sunil Kumar Sinha, who is a principal economist at IRR. Also, high cereals inflation in rural areas, that is compared to urban areas, since June 2021 is also having an adverse impact on rural demand at a time when nominal rural wage growth is lower than rural inflation. So wage growth is very low, but inflation is high. What exactly do people do? They have to put more money in order to buy a product, but wage is not growing. This is what is squeezing off rural household purchasing power is called. They cannot purchase much and they need much, which is getting reflected in the subdued growth in the consumer non-durable segment. Output has declined by 2%. They cannot spend much money, so that is why it is declined among the states. So this is all data. We are more interested in national data. Finance Ministry said after the data release that rise in inflation is attributable to both to an adverse base effect and also increase in food and fuel prices. What exactly it said about core inflation? It said that headline inflation, if you exclude food and fuel, it was at 5.9%. But because of this food and fuel, it has been more than 7%. And also it said that remaining below the tolerance limits of 6% for fourth consecutive month. Despite erratic monsoons and negative seasonality in vegetable prices, food inflation in August is still slower than the April peak of the current year. With global inflation pressures, inflationary expectations remain anchored in India with stable core inflation. And you know, the global condition is much worse than India's. UK is going into recession. China's growth is not as much as what expected. US is also seeing a lot of inflationary pressures. So in this, you can say, gloomy, dim area, India is a bright spot. Government has prohibited exports of food products like wheat, flour, atta, rice, maida in order to keep domestic supplies steady and also to stop, or you can call curb, rise in prices. What is the impact? The impact of these measures is expected to be felt more significantly in the coming weeks and months. With this inflation print, RBI is 1 month short of overshooting its target for 3 consecutive quarters. And if the inflation is more than 6% for 3 consecutive quarters, then there will be a meeting. And what exactly is the meeting? Here is given. The RBI is planning to hold a special meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee in October after the next inflation print comes on October 12. If the next inflation is more than 6%, there will be a meeting as per mandate of the monetary policy framework. And why exactly this meeting is being held? Because if the average inflation rate breaches the 2 to 6% target for 3 consecutive quarters, if there is a breach of this target for 3 consecutive quarters, then central bank will have to explain the reason. And who is the central bank? RBI. RBI have to explain the reason why exactly it is not able to tame the inflation, why it has breached the inflation target. It has to explain this to the government. Going ahead, serious inflation, weakness in the currency, elevated global commodity price, pickup in service demand, and also revision of natural gas prices. These all factors are expected to weigh on retail inflation, hence likely to result in more rate hikes by RBI. They are expecting that CPI inflation can rise slightly to 7.1% in September. And this implies that a marginal undershooting in the second quarter of fiscal year 23. The MPC's Monetary Policy Committee's projection of 7.1% is for this quarter. Notwithstanding the undershooting in the GDP growth relevant to MPC's projection for quarter 1, and also the expectations of slightly lower than projected CPI inflation print for quarter 2 of fiscal year 23, we now foresee a higher likelihood that MPC will stick to the new normal rate hike of 50 bps in its September 2022 meeting. So what exactly that means? It means that in order to tame the inflation, a new rate hike will come. We have already witnessed 3 rate hikes. Once 40, next was 50, and then again 50. We will witness more of this in coming days. So in the factory output data that was released by NSO, which is a manufacturing sector output, and this manufacturing sector output, it accounts for more than 3/4 of the total weight of IIP. It rose to 3.2% as against 10.5% a year ago and 13% a month ago. So very slight rose. We see 10% and 13%, now just 3%. Mining sector output also contracted. Electricity output grew. Capital goods output also grew, but very less, 5.8% as against 30% a year ago and 29% a month ago. Consumer durables output also grew very less, 2.4%. IIP growth plunged to a 4-month low, trailing our expectations of 4%. It was expected that IIP will grow at 4%, but it's just 2.4%. Unfortunate, but expected fallout of base normalization. And also why? Because of heavy rainfall in some areas, shift in discretionary consumption to contact intensive services. So because contact intensive services, what exactly that means? In the COVID, the contact intensive services, that means in which a person has to meet another person face to face. These are contact intensive services which are not online. So because there is a discretionary consumption which has arose, now there is much I think what is expected in the future is more important. While supply disruptions are slowly easing, this weakening global growth outlook could weigh on India's export orders. So exactly, in the age of globalization, everything is exported. Even inflation is also exported. One country's happening affect other countries' happenings. So what you see in the one side of the area can affect other part of the globe. A strong recovery in domestic demand will remain a key source of support for India's industrial output in the coming month. So it is expected that if this domestic demand remains strong, then only the output of India's industries will be supported. So we see in the future what can we expect? We see that inflation is not going to tame next month. So obviously this meeting by the RBI, which is planning to hold a special meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee, we will see that. And then we will see what are the main reasons for the breach in the inflation target. And RBI's Monetary Policy Committee will explain it to the government. So we will see that in future. Now the first page has no more news. Then this is city page. Then comes government and politics page. So there also not much news is given. Express Network, we see NIA has raided 50 places that are linked to Punjab gangster in anti-terror nexus probe. So what that exactly means, that NIA, which is National Investigation Agency, it has raided 50 places that were linked to Punjab gangster, and it was found that it were connected to terror groups. So I think exactly this has not much thing. Only the headline is important, gives you all important news about this. Now, okay, this is also important. Plea against hijab ban. So we are continuously tracking this hijab ban. You see why is this news? Because now this controversy, or you can call appeal, has come to Supreme Court. So that is why Supreme Court is now taking this case, and this is coming since 3 to 4 days. What exactly they have said? You raised essential practice, had to take it up. High Court had to take it up. Supreme Court's to appellant. Now the appellants against the Karnataka hijab ban Monday, they argued that in the Supreme Court, that High Court should not have ventured into interpreting Quran as it lacked expertise. So the people who have appealed, they have said that High Court should not have ventured into interpreting Quran. So they are talking that this High Court should not explain us the Quran because it do not know Quran, it lacks expertise. But they were told by top court that it was them who has raised the issue of essential religious practices, which may have left the Karnataka High Court with no option but to do the same. But the court said that because you people and those who have appealed, you have raised the issue that wearing hijab is an essential religious practice and it is written in the Quran. So that is why the High Court have to do that. What exactly they said? You are the ones who went to the court saying that this is an essential practice, isn't it? Somebody raised this point. What was the option for High Court but to deal with it? This was said by Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia. The remarks came after Muchla, who is appearing for one of the petitioners, submitted there are well settled rules of interpreting the Quran with which the courts are not well acquainted. So if the court do not know the rules, they must not venture to do so. Keeping in this view, such handicaps to deal with holy scriptures, judicial prudence requires that courts and also common citizens should restrain from interpreting the same. So they are saying that if they do not know that, handicaps refer to this point, that if they do not know what exactly is written, they should not deal with the holy scriptures. And judicial prudence, it requires that courts and also common citizens should not do the same, should not deal with holy scriptures if they do not know that. And to this, what Justice Dhulia responded, that at least I am not understanding this point at all. First you assert it as a right. High Court gives a decision one way or the other, and then you say it cannot be done. Then Muchla agreed that the point has been raised. Somebody may have done it erroneously or by over enthusiasm. Court must have said, you asked this question, but I cannot answer. So whoever is this is saying that court should have said that I cannot answer. Court, according to Muchla, court should not interpret the Quran if it does not know about it. But this is the main plank of the argument. Muchla said that the matter raises issues of importance that require interpretation of the Constitution. Whoever is the person said that this matter is about interpretation of Constitution. So that is why urged the Supreme Court to consider referring it to a Constitution bench. Now this argument will has remained inconclusive and also resume on September 14th. So we will see that. I see these arguments very interesting, and again we will do that when this newspaper headline will come about hijab ban. Now then comes Supreme Court to refer pleas against CAA to 3-judge bench. The CAA I've explained yesterday. Now it is a news headline is only important, and why this news is important, because many people have slammed this CAA, and why exactly? Because it exclude Muslims from 3 countries, which is Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan. So that is why they are saying that it is discriminating. And what exactly is the base? They are talking that they have discriminated these persons on the basis of Article 14, which is equality before the law. So we will see how this case will be solved by Supreme Court. Now efforts on to curb lumpy skin disease. This is by PM Modi, and it's about World Dairy Summit. He said that women are real leaders in the India's dairy sector. So what exactly is the lumpy skin disease? It's a disease, and why exactly is this news? Because this disease is suffocating the cattle. This is a skin disease in which a lot of lumps are seen. This is exactly not a human disease, it's a cattle disease. So observing that there has been a loss of livestock because of this LSD reported across several states in the country recently. What exactly Prime Minister Modi has said? He said that centers with other state governments is trying hard to control it. Modi was speaking at World Dairy Summit, which was organized by International Dairy Federation 2022. What was the theme? Dairy for nutrition and livelihood. A lot of participants, 1500 from 50 countries, that include industry leaders, experts, farmers, policy planners. They will exchange ideas and also they will discuss issues that are related to this sector. And what exactly is the sector? Dairy sector. All these persons will discuss the matters. Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh Yogi Adityanath, he welcomed PM Modi at the summit along with other dignitaries. Last summit of such summit, Dairy Summit, was held 1974, about half a century ago. So now addressing the inaugural session, PM said that the concept of Pashudhan and also some occupations that are associated with milk, these are an important traditions of Indian culture, 1000-year-old. He listed out unique characteristic of Indian dairy sector. First is that small farmers contribute to this dairy sector a lot. Second is vast network of such dairy cooperatives, and how vast is spreading across 2 lakh villages and involving more than 2 crore farmers. And talking that there are no middlemen in the system, more than 70% of the money received from the customer goes directly to the farmers. You may have seen a lot of milk sellers. They are the owners of these cattle and the money goes direct to them. He also pointed out indigenous species of dairy animals which can adapt to extreme climates. India born, indigenous, not a hybrid product. He is saying that these India born can adapt to extreme climates, talking about cattle. Highlighting the role of women in the dairy sector, he said that this is other unique feature of Indian dairy sector, and he said that women make for 70% of the workforce in this dairy sector. Also he said that real leaders of India's dairy sector are women, adding that this sector provides livelihood to at least 8 crore families. Talking about this lumpy skin disease, he said that there has been a loss of livestock because of this disease. Scientists have developed a vaccine for such disease, and also efforts are being made to control the disease. And how exactly it will be controlled? By testing and also by restricting the movement of animals. This is how exactly COVID was, you can say, controlled by the government. Testing and restricting the movement. This exactly came to animals now. PM also said that total value of the dairy production in the country is about 8.5 lakh crore, which is more than combined value of wheat and paddy production. Indian dairy sector is known more for production by masses than mass production. What exactly that means? It means that more people are involved in production, not a lot of production by one person. Modi said that adding the per capita availability of milk in India is higher than the world average. And also he listed measures that are taken by his government. What are the measures? First, India produced 146 million tons of milk in 2015, an increase to 210 million tons. This is an increase of about 44%. Also he compared to the 2% production growth at the global level. So India at 210% and global level is 2%. So India is cloaking the milk production rate also at more than 6%. He said that the government is building the largest database of dairy animals. What exactly is the target? We have resolved that by 2025, this is the target. We will vaccinate 100% of animals against foot and mouth disease and also brucellosis. This is a disease that seriously affects the cattle. So it is a target 2025, 100% animals will be vaccinated. Union Cabinet of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry, Dairy Purushottam Rupala said that last time a dairy summit was organized in India was in 1974, and that time production was just 23 million tons. Now increased to 220 million tons. Uttar Pradesh CM Yogi also said that state was the largest producer of milk in the country. 4 lakh milk producers working in UP. Union Minister of State, this is state UP, for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry, Dairying, Dr. L. Murugan, and also Minister of State Sanjeev Kumar Banyan, President of International Dairy Federation, P. Brizale, and Director General of International Dairy Federations, Mrs. Caroline Amond. These people were present there. So we see, so what are the future prospects first? The target, 2025, 100% cattle will be vaccinated. This is exactly the point we have to take from this news. Also, the increase to 210 million tons. This is important from 2014 to now 2020-22. So now next come the Express Network. So government fiscal year 19 health spending dropped from previous year. So what exactly this means? I think headline says it all. Whatever the government was spending in 2018, it dropped its spending in health for 2019. So this is exactly the news. We see that union government healthcare spend dropped to 1.28% of GDP in 2018 from the previous year figure, 2018-19, from the previous year figure of 1.35%. Now coming to explain page, we see Supreme Court's 3-question test for validity of 10% EWS quota. So why exactly is this news? Because this controversy of EWS quota is a controversy of years. I've seen this since 1 year. So what exactly is this controversy? First is how the government reached 8 lakh threshold. This is the question that has been asked by the court. So there is for starters, I've explained that if you don't know, then there is a threshold that if your income is 8 lakh per annum, is less than 8 lakh per annum, then only you are reasonable, or you can say you can qualify for EWS. Otherwise you cannot qualify. There are also some other aspects such as agriculture, land and all that, but main you can call issue is about this 8 lakh annual family income. So what is the 3-question test? We will see the news. Beginning Tuesday, Supreme Court will examine whether the Constitutional 103rd Amendment Act, which introduced 10% quota for EWS in government job admissions, it violates the basic structure of the Constitution or not. A 5-judge bench will be constituted. Now challenge to the EWS quota was also referred to a 5-judge bench in August 2020. So this is a news of years, I've told you. What are the issues that are fixed by the Supreme Court? So Attorney General K.K. Venugopal has drafted 4 issues for consideration. What exactly are these 4 issues? Whether the 103rd Constitution Amendment Act can be said to breach the basic structure of the Constitution by permitting the state to make special provisions, including reservations based on economic criteria. So first is whether this amendment, it violates the basic structure of the Constitution or not. Second is whether it, which is amendment, can be said to breach the basic structure by permitting the state to make special provisions in relation to admissions to private unaided institutions. So First was about reservation based on economic criteria, whether this breaches the basic structure or not. Second is making special provisions for admission to private unaided institution, whether it breaches the basic structure or not. Third is whether the basic structure is violated by excluding SEBCs, which is socially and educationally backward classes, and also OBCs, other backward classes, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, from the scope of EWS reservation. So whether this exclusion violates the basic structure or not. What exactly is the 103rd Amendment? The 103rd Amendment was inserted in Article 15 and 16. It was pointed as sixth clause to these articles 15(6) and 16(6) in the Constitution in order to provide 10% reservation for EWS, other than, that means excluding backward classes, scheduled classes and scheduled tribes in higher education institutions, and also initial recruitment in government jobs. So what exactly this amendment has done? This amendment has empowered state government to provide reservations on the basis of economic backwardness. Article 15 prohibits discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. 16 guarantees equal opportunity in the matter of public employment. Now these additional clauses, these sixth clauses in both Article 15 and 16, it gave Parliament the power to make special laws for EWS. For example, also there are exceptions to these articles for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and also OBCs. Now how this reservation was granted? What was the basis? The EWS reservation was granted based on the recommendations of a commission that was headed by Major General retired S.R. Sinhu. This commission was constituted by UPA government 2005 and submitted its report 2010. This Sinhu commission recommended that all the PPL families, which is below poverty line families, that are in the general category, as you know, are notified time to time, and also those families whose annual income from all sources is below the taxable limit should be identified as EBCs. This is economically backward classes. So this was decided by Sinhu Commission. Now how is EWS status determined under the law? So there are some criteria. EWS criteria for employment and admission, it was notified 2019 by Department of Personnel and Training and was based on 103rd Amendment Act. What exactly are the criteria? First, a person who was not covered under the scheme of reservation for SC, ST and OBCs. First is the person who are not covered under any scheme of reservations for these people. Second, family income must be below 8 lakh. These were the people that would be identified as EWS. The notification specified constituted income, and it also excluded some persons if their families possess some specified assets, for example land. So there was some criteria of land. If you carry out this much acre, 5 acres of land or more, then you cannot be in the EWS category. So October 2021, the Supreme Court was hearing the challenge for reservation of EWS in the All India quota for PG medical courses, and it asked the government how exactly the threshold of 8 lakh has been reached. The center told that it would revisit the income criteria and also set up a 3-member panel for this purpose. So court asked this question, and now center means the government, central government, union government has called that it will set up a 3-member panel to find out exactly what happened. January this year, government accepted the committee's report, and it said that threshold of 8 lakh of annual family income in the current situation seems reasonable for determining EWS. So it said that 8 lakh is reasonable and also may be retained. However, the committee said that EWS may exclude irrespective of income. So it said that if family income is less than 8 lakh, then also a person can be excluded. And why exactly? If the family possesses more than 5 acres of agricultural land and above. So this committee recommended that residential asset criteria also may altogether be removed. Now, why exactly this amendment is challenged? What is the basis of the challenge to amendment? When a law is challenged, the burden of proving it is unconstitutional lies on the petitioners. The primary argument in this case is that the amendment violates the basic structure of the Constitution. So this is exactly the main issue, that it violates the basic structure of the Constitution or not. Although you know that there is no clear definition of basic structure, any law that violates it is understood to be unconstitutional. So this argument is present in the present case. It stems from the view that special protections that are carried to socially disadvantaged group is a part of basic structure. And 103rd Amendment, it departs from this by promising special protection on the sole basis of economic status. So what exactly is the provision? You can provide protection to socially disadvantaged group, but not on the basis of economic status. So this is main issue. This is how exactly the appellants have called on. The petitioners have also challenged the amendment on the ground that it violates the Supreme Court 1992 ruling in Indira Sawhney versus Union of India. And what exactly was this rule? It held the Mandal report and also capped reservations at 50%. The court said that economic backwardness cannot be the sole criteria for identifying a backward class. Another challenge is on the behalf of private unaided educational institutions. They have argued that fundamental right to practice a trade or profession is violated when the state compels them to implement its reservation policy and admit students on any criteria other than merit. So they are saying that this right to practice a trade profession, fundamental right, is violated if the state forces any private institution to admit students on the criteria of such as EWS other than merit system. What exactly is the government's stand in this matter? In counter affidavits, Ministry of Social Justice Empowerment, it argued that 46th article of Constitution and also part of the DPSP, the state has a duty to protect the interest of economically weaker sections. So this is called by the government. The state shall also promote with special care the educational and economic interest of the weaker sections of the people, particularly scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and it has a duty to protect them from social justice and all forms of exploitation. Against the argument of violation of basic structure, government said that to sustain a challenge against a constitutional amendment, it must be shown that very identity of the constitution has been altered. So this is about the basic structure. It said that if you want to challenge any constitutional amendment, that you have to show that a identity, the main, you can see the face of the constitution has been altered. On the Indira Sawhney principle, government has relied on Supreme Court 2008 ruling, which was Ashok Kumar Thakur versus Union of India, and this ruling it was upheld by court that 27% quota is the baseline for OBCs. This is the argument that court accepted that the definition of OBC was not made on the sole criteria of caste, but also a mix of caste and economic factors. Court accepted that definition is not just about caste, but OBCs must be included both from the caste and economic factor. Thus, there need not be a sole criteria for according reservation. So this is exactly the case of EWS. we are more interested in the 3 points. Issues that are fixed by the Supreme Court, which you see in the red. Now, what the Varanasi court said. So, we have seen this in the front page and I've explained you very well. I think if you want to, there is more about these worship acts, Wolf Act and Kashi Vishwanath Act. So I think reading about these acts are not that important, and what exactly the district Varanasi court has said, and we have seen that in the front page. So now next come the word news. Ukraine keeps up momentum, reclaims more territory, reports capturing POWs. So we see Ukraine is continuously trying to hold its own land, which was captured by Russia, and now Ukraine is more, you can say, on an attacking mission than just defending it. Now Biden to hit China with broader curbs on US chip tools export. So you know China uses tools that are made from US to make chips, and China is you can say a very good manufacturing hub of such chips. But what exactly US has decided to hit China by not sending the tools that are used to make semiconductors. So I think heading was all. Now next come the economy page. This is about Air India, which is a private sector news. State may have Niti Aayog like bodies soon. You know Niti Aayog, it's a think tank of government. Such bodies will be more. We will see more such bodies in our country, India. So what exactly is the news? Niti Aayog, the think tank at the central level, will handhold each state to set up similar bodies. Each state to set up similar body. You see that, replacing their planning boards for faster and inclusive economic growth in tandem with a vision of becoming a developed nation by 2047. So this was a pledge that was taken on 15th August 2022 from the Red Fort by Prime Minister Modi, that we will become developed nation by 2047. So what exactly is the news? This news is that states have to replace their planning boards, and they have to set up a similar bodies like Niti Aayog in order to fasten and also made economic growth inclusive. The move is in recognition of the fact that except for sectors like defense, railways, highways, the national gross domestic product, which is GDP, is an aggregation of states' rate of growth. So states have a great contribution in the growth. Health, education, skills, these are primarily the state government subject. You know, these are state subjects. Niti Aayog notes that central government's role is critical in order to improve the ease of doing business, in order to make land reforms possible, infrastructure development, credit flows, urbanization. All of these factors are vital for sustained economic development. And this I've explained. Last Independence Day speech from the Red Fort, Prime Minister set an ambitious target of making India a developed nation by 2047. So this Niti Aayog has initiated a mission, which is a state support mission, by holding a meeting of state planning secretaries on September 6th. Think tank which will likely extend support to states, that includes experts from IIMs, IITs. They have received positive response from the state. So what exactly that means? It means that most states will replace their planning departments with an institution like Niti Aayog. So initially it aims for 8 to 10 states to set up such bodies before reaching out to all by March 2023. Four states, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Assam, they have already begun work in this regard. While Maharashtra, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, they will begin their work soon. 7 years since 65-year-old Planning Commission was replaced by Niti Aayog, and you see that it was in 2015. It is a main think tank for forging national vision on development. Center has given plan fund allocation powers to this finance ministry. However, most states so far has done little to rejuvenate their planning department. This is a main issue. States have done a lot less than expected, which earlier dealt with planning commission also prepared parallel state 5-year plans with the center. Most state planning departments, they have huge manpower and they are almost defunct. No clarity what work they exactly are trying to do. So a plan has been chalked out by Niti Aayog in order to help them in the creation of teams which will examine the existing structure of state planning boards. So a team will come and it will examine what exactly is going on in state planning board, and the next 4 to 6 months it will conceptualize the state institution for transformation. For this task, lateral entry of professionals, it will be encouraged in their SITs. And what they will do, they will undertake high quality analytical work and also recommend some policies for the state. Besides reorienting state planning board as SITs, a blueprint will be made. And what exactly this blueprint is made for, it is made that how exactly it will guide state in policy formulations, and also how exactly it will take up the monitoring and evaluation process of government policies and programs. And also a blueprint will be made to suggest better technology, or you can call models, for such delivery of schemes. So I see this is, I think, very important news, because you see 2015 Niti Aayog was made, but now in 2022, I think till next year these bodies will be made, and this will seriously fast pace the growth of economy. So we will see in the future how such bodies are planned, and also the work of this SIT, how exactly they will test, analyze and evaluate such policies and programs, and what are the technologies or models that these think tank provide for states. So this comes an end to the news. So today's newspaper was, I would say, very important newspaper. A lot of Supreme Court appeals and their discussions were there. Also some international news was there. Prime Minister Modi's LSD, lumpy skin disease, that was also very important. And you can read this newspaper as well.